Welcome to Psychic Social, brought to you by psychic.co.uk.
On this episode of Psychic Social.
There was this big dark cloud, and literally I just sort of fell back. And my treatment room's up at the stairs, and we had the lights on, and as she walked up the stairs, all the lights flickered, everything flickered.
Welcome to Psychic Social with me, Oliver Duke, the podcast that explores all things from the psychic and spiritual perspectives, including interviews with famous psychic practitioners, discussions about the afterlife, the paranormal, and much more. So relax and enjoy the show. Today's guest has been a psychic medium for over 3 decades. She's owned and operated the Psychic Clinic for over 20 years, providing psychic teaching, spiritual mediation, and paranormal investigation. She's well known for her energy clearings, both in person and remotely. She's also a highly intuitive animal communicator. She's featured on TV and radio all over the world, including in-depth interviews on TV stations and radio programs in America, both in Boston and in California. She presents her own radio show, Spiritual Surgery, every Monday on Pulse Talk Radio, a spiritual development show with guests, readings and discussions on all things psychic and paranormal. So let's hear more about all of this with today's guest, Paula Mary. Hi Paula, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hello Oliver, I'm brilliant, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very good. Having a good day despite the rain. What have you been up to today? Anything exciting?
Well, yes, I had a really nice early morning session this morning with a young child who was 6 years old with their mother. They're a very spiritual family, and he was sort of connected to the spirit world quite a lot, and they just wanted some advice about that. And he was he had a little bit of a negative energy, or what you call like a little imp, telling him to do naughty things. So I had a look at his energies. I cleansed him, balanced him down and earthed him down and put a protection around him, and so just to help him, because when we're young we're very open, and he was getting he was so open, so it took actually quite a long time to bring him down, his energies down into his body, to earth him.
So how long did that take?
Very long. Well, the session took an hour and a half this morning, but talking to the mother to give her some tips on how to keep him grounded, how to keep him earthed more. And it's very difficult when you're so open as a child, as I know myself, and it's hard to do that. But it's a bit like a consultant session, as well as doing some healing and earthing and grounding, and sort of telling the little imp to leave him alone.
Right, okay. And have you done many of those in the past?
Yes, I predominantly do a lot of that, and I think that boils back down to my childhood as well, as I had a lot of experiences speaking to the spirit world.
Right, okay. Well, that leads me nicely on to the first question and I was going to ask you, how did you become a psychic? How did it start for you? Was it from a very young age, like you say, or was it a family member that passed the gift down to you, think, or how did it happen for you?
Well, my family, interestingly enough, I was born into a very strict Catholic Irish background. My mum's Irish. And as far as I was aware, and now, no, I was the only one. So it was a bit like the outsider looking in for a long time. But I remember at 4, I would say I was born very much psychic. And at the age of 4, I remember I was playing in the garden and I sort of fell over and I bumped my head on a flower bed. And when I sort of got up a bit, I could see fairies, I would say. I didn't quite know what they were at the time, but they're very, very Pacific. And one was yellow, one was red, one was blue. I can still see it today. And they were around me. And I then started really opening up and spending a lot of time talking to the fairies and the spirit world. And then at the age of 6, I was walking with my mum and she was talking to her friend, and her friend was crying, and her friend said, I can't have a baby. And I was tugging on my mum's skirt and saying, I see baby. Wow. And then 2 weeks later, the door rang and my mum's friend was there, and she bring great news. She's having a baby. So it was very sort of, I picked up very early about people and their vibrations.
So it was sort of feelings you were having, clairsentient sort of things going on there for you? Or?
Yes, feeling, seeing. I then could see lots of energies. I could see the light, the dark, the shade. And that's what's really equipped me to be a good healer today, because I can gauge very quickly when I see someone what energies are on them that needs removing, or that they need to be earthed and brought their energies in. So when I was younger, I could see the light around someone, and then I could see maybe a bit of shade or a bit of grey. So I could really see people's energies at a very early age. And of course then I didn't really know, about too much about it. And when I saw dark, I was like, oh, I remember I was on a bus once and I could see light, dark, shade, and I could look at someone, and I was 11, and I get these thoughts. I looked at this woman and she looked really sad, and I could see grey around her, and I thought, oh, she's very unhappy, and things like that. And then I saw somebody else, I thought, oh, they look very happy. So yes, very early on I can see things, and also I started seeing faces and spirits as well.
And you're a psychic medium. I mean, what sort of guides do you have? Do you have one or many, and do they change for you?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I remember, I think when I was 11, I had my first experiences with my guides, and I've still got Jim today, and he's still there. They do change, actually, because obviously when you grow, we change your energies, I obviously went training, Federation of Spiritual Healers, mediumship training, and you grow, and then your spirits do change. And in fact, I had a change about a month ago. I was doing a lot of work, and I got this message, we're going on a holiday, you've got trainees.
Right, okay.
So I've got 3 new trainee spirit guides at the moment. So yes, I do believe the change, because we change, we develop, we grow, and I do believe that your guides change too, but I have got the same one that's been always there, so always comforting me.
Tell us about Jim, you said his name was.
Yeah.
Tell us about Jim. Can you tell us more about him at all?
Yes. I mean, the first time I remember, I was feeling really sort of, I could see all these faces. I didn't quite know what was going on. And I was in my room at the time, and I was a little bit upset, because obviously I just wanted to not see all these pictures sometimes, because to me back then when I was young, it scared me. And I remember this comedy, and he was like, I'm here, it's Jim, I'm here to keep you safe. And he always has been. And he goes right back to my ancestry side, on my father's side, believe it or not, because even though when I was growing up it was very strict and we didn't talk about the spirit world, it's only now, my dad's in his 80s, and it's only recently over the last couple of years that he's talked to me about his spiritual, what he's seen, and he's seen spirits and ghosts and things, and it's only now that it becomes much more clearer to me.
Right, okay.
Family history, and so it's my father's side.
Right.
So Jim belongs to my father's side of the family.
And your father, did he explain a lot about what happened to him in the past, or in terms of his,
yes, absolutely. I mean, they're not, what I say, they're not that open to it even now. You know, as long as you're busy, Paula, we're happy for you.
Right, okay.
But, you know, it hasn't stopped me. It's in my blood. But yes, I mean, back then, I think, especially from a strict Catholic upbringing, it wasn't, you know, you didn't really want to talk about it. And it's only now when my dad is becoming more open about it. And yes, he was driving along. His dad recently had passed over. This is quite some time ago. And he was driving along in his car, quite upset. But as he went round a corner, he saw a car and people standing there. And then when he got out to help them, they were not there. And then he looked back, and it was actually interesting. There was an accident there at that particular time. And then he started seeing more things. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's really interesting stuff. moving on a little bit, can you tell us a bit more about, we've seen on your website about your animal healing. Can you give the listeners a bit more information about that?
Yes, absolutely. I love animals, and when I was younger, I had lots of animals, and even now I've got 4.
Right.
And when I was little, I just gravitated to them, but it wasn't until I went on the Spiritual Healers training that I then sort of tapped into the healing. And my first job from that was actually animal, and it was 2 pugs, and they were puppies. And I got a call to say they needed calming down. They were too playful, and I walked in, and they were sitting in one bed. As I walked in and I spoke to the lady, and she was like, they're not settling, they're quite agitated. And I said, oh no, that's fine. And then I got this voice, and it said, I don't like him. He's biting my feet, and I want my own bed. And I was like, who spoke to me? I was like, double take, who was that? Because at the time I didn't really know.
Sure.
And I looked, and there he was, and yes, and I thought, oh my God, you're speaking to me. And I said, no, it's going to be fine. I'm talking to your mum, and we're going to get you a new bed and everything, so I'm fine. And then my guides came in, and how I work with my healing is I channel it through my guides, and I go up to sort of quite a high vibrational, and I was just like calming their energies, bringing their energies in, and talking to them. And from that moment, then I thought, oh my God, and I came out and wanted to talk to every animal. Right.
Okay. Suddenly, all the birds were talking to you, and the cats, and everything. Yeah.
And it was taken from there, and yes, my guide, I have an animal communicator as well, right. And he comes in and he helps me find animals too, and it's gone from there. And I've done a lot of psychic surgery as well on animals that are perhaps not well, and there was a dog 3 years ago, he was beautiful, called Bobby, but he had leukemia, and it's always a last resort when people call me, but I did a lot of healing. And what I do is I work a sort of bit aboriginally when I do my healing, so I take it away and I cough, not massively, but I'd cough whatever sort of fluid is there or liquid, and I try and take it away. It's obviously not going to cure him because he passed over, but it builds up the immune system. It makes them deal with it a little bit better, enable them to cope with it. Mm-hmm. And I do all sorts of things like he had a bad leg, and so energetically we would wrap a protection blanket around him just to hold his legs and bones a bit together and things like that. So yes, it's amazing what my guides do. They come down. When I do my psychic surgery on the animal side, they come down like in a little rope. I don't, a lot of people when they do psychic surgery, they do trance. I don't do any of that. I make the channel, and the energies and the guides, they actually come down into the animal themselves. So I'm the channel for that. And then when they're finished, then the guides go after their work. But one time they come down with their little hammer and their chisel, and they come down. They're quite jokey, my guides.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very interesting stuff. In terms of finding the animals, have you got a great story about an animal that you might have found through your psychic mediumship?
Yes, absolutely. I found quite a few cats, and for some reason, because people say I've got cat's eyes, right, okay. And for some reason I have this absolute sort of, the cats just come to me, and when I communicate with a cat, it's absolutely really amazing. But how I do my work, so say a cat's gone missing, and it was like a year ago, and this lady rang me and said, my cat's been missing for 7 days. I really don't know what to do. Now, how I work is I immediately go and communicate. So I need a picture. So she sent me a picture, and I looked, and then I tap into the cat. So I communicate with the cat. Now, if the cat's been in the cold or locked away, sometimes this is difficult to get a communication from the animal straight away. So you would need to do some healing to bring the vibration of the animal up so that you can connect and talk. But in this case, the cat was very warm, and I was talking and asking, where they were. And basically what happened was it was sort of a neighbour as such, but over the next road, as it were. And I got this cat in a window, and I got the bins, and the cat was sitting at the window saying, I can see these bins and I see this red car, and all this information. So I write all the information down, and the cat was saying that the people have locked the door. Right. She had been going in there, that she had been going in there for food, but sometimes when you don't wear a collar, people think that they're lost, and it wasn't in a bad way, but they obviously like the cat, and the cat's been visiting. But she couldn't escape. She couldn't get back because they've kept her indoors. Not in a bad way, of course, but they thought that she was a stray because she kept going in there and having food. And so she explained exactly where she was. And I said, okay, thank you. And I sort of said, well, if you got an opportunity to escape, and she was speaking, saying she does want to go home, because some cats, right. They were saying, I prefer here, because they seem to choose, don't they, their owners. But it's quite funny when you communicate. So then I told the lady exactly what I got, and I got a sort of a name of the road as well, and also the car, and I got to registration, that some of the digits as well. So I immediately then talked to the client, and they went round there, and there she was out the window. There she was, and they got her.
Amazing.
Cat.
Well, it's very specific information when you're getting parts of number plates and things like that, aren't you? And
yes, I don't get everything, right. But I get sometimes specific things. But sometimes, again, I communicate with the animal. So it all depends how that animal is and whether that animal is very open. For dogs, they're slightly different, especially when dogs go missing in the woods or something like that, and they're very cold and they're very wet and they're scared. So when they're scared, their energies come out, and it's really difficult then for them to sort of tell you where they are, if that makes sense. So it's harder. So a lot of healing is needed to comfort them, and to make them feel better. So sometimes, not always, has there been 100% happiness on some of the dogs that perhaps have been out in the woods for over 10 days, and they're very. But yes, there was a dog story that went missing, and this was 6 years ago. And a lady rang to me and she said, I'm sure someone's taken it. And now you have to be very careful. My guides only give me information, because obviously when you go into that, it draws into so much negativity as well. So you're only given information that the owner can cope with. And also myself, you're only given certain information to help. But this was a collie dog, and it had been sort of taken from the back garden. But I got that there were two caravan sites, and I got that it was predominantly in this one, and also I got that they would be able to get it back, because sometimes if I don't get, they're going to get it back, then obviously I don't pursue it because sometimes there's a block, and the guides say it's not going to happen, and that's really sad. So it's hard sometimes doing the animal communication side. It's really sad, because people love their animals so much. But on this case, they went to where I said, and I got a big red van, and I got like a metal cast in the van, and I got that it was around there, and they went and they got their dog back.
Fantastic.
So there, out of all the animals that I have managed to find and locate over the years, because I've been doing it for a long time, I would say only sort of 6 I haven't. Right.
But you found many, many more in the process.
But very many more. But it varies on the situation. It varies on the animal and whether they're open for me talking to them. And it varies like humans. Some are open and some aren't.
Sure.
And that's the same with animals as well.
Yeah.
Not quite as straightforward.
No, I can imagine. It doesn't sound it at all. Well, that's fantastic information and great stuff to hear for everyone listening. That's going to move us nicely into our break. We're going to talk some more stuff with Paula Mary, psychic medium, after the break, and we're going to probably delve into the paranormal, I think. So we're going to catch up with more from Paula in part 2. So we'll see you after this.
This is Psychic Social, where the world's best psychics tell you their story.
Hi, hope you're enjoying the show today. Now, we have a brand new horoscope email you can subscribe to at psychic.co.uk. All you have to do is wait for the pop-up to show on the website and then enter your email and star sign. And every Sunday night we'll email you a free horoscope for the week ahead. Now, you can dive in one step further if you wish and take a look at our Horoscope Plus memberships. This is your weekly horoscope plus a lot more. There are 3 memberships to choose from, and we've covered all budgets, we feel. So the Robin membership gives you private, exclusive access to a more detailed horoscope on the member horoscope pages at the website, and a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom each month. And you'll get a free access code as well to the taster version of our amazing video tarot course with Nikki Allen, 10-Hour Tarot. Now, this membership is just £1.99 per month, and you can cancel it anytime you like. There's a ton of stuff in there for such a small amount of money, so much value. The next membership we've got is the Feather membership. It's a step up from there, and it's just £5.99 per month, and you can also cancel anytime for that one too. Now, as a Feather member, you'll get a much more detailed, in-depth horoscope than the Robin membership horoscope. And on that Feather member horoscope page on the website, you'll get exclusive access to that with over 1,000 words of horoscope broken down into 3 sections. That's including romance, work and family. It really will give you a fantastic insight into the week ahead every single week. You'll also get our truly amazing astrology video. That's thrown in for free as well, which is 30 minutes of fantastic content on astrology. And as with the Robin membership, you'll also get a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom every month too. So that's wonderful value in there as well for $5.99 a month for the Feather membership. And the final membership is the Angel member. That's the top level membership to access on the site. That gives you some amazing stuff, and all that info is on the website. Just head to psychic.co.uk/membership and take a look at which one will suit you. We'll put the link in the show notes of this podcast down below for you, so you can just click there and check them all out there. You can also check out the horoscope page and have a little sneak peek at what the Robin members are getting there already. That's at psychic.co.uk/horoscope. Right, now back to the show.
This is Psychic Social, the spiritual home of psychics.
Welcome back to part 2 of Psychic Social and our chat with Paula Mary, psychic medium. Now, my next question to Paula was, we wanted to find out a bit more about her show, because she does a show on a radio station called Pulse Talk Radio. Now, can you tell us a bit more about that, please, Paula?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Pulse Talk Radio is a paranormal radio station, and I have a show weekly on a Monday called Spiritual Surgery, and it's exactly what it is. It's a development show, a technique show, and a debate, and we have guests. And I love it so much because I do some meditations, I do some techniques for grounding, but we have some wonderful guests on the show. And it's so varied. We had a mind warrior, we have crystal goddess on the show. We have people from America, people from England. I work with actually Watkins Publishing. And a few weeks ago, we had Claire Broad on about a book, What the Dead Are Dying to Teach Us. So it's very, very interesting. And every guest gets asked what was their first spiritual experience and one technique that they can give to the listeners that helps them. So I'm very excited about it. I do readings on the show as well. And yes, I have to say, Oliver, I'm loving it.
Sounds great. And you do, I just noticed you mentioned you deal with Watkins Books. Now, that's the oldest, I think that's the oldest metaphysical bookstore in the world, isn't it, in London?
It is indeed,
Yeah.
and yes, and we got a deal with them, and people, their new books coming up, the spiritual books, they come on the show and they talk about them. So it's absolutely amazing.
Now, I know about Watkins books, and the only reason why I brought it up was because I used to work in London, and I went there on my lunch break once and had a psychic reading there. With a guy in the window, yeah. It was very interesting. This was 12 years ago, yeah. So it's interesting you just brought that up, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, no, the Watkins have been absolutely brilliant, and we've got some more coming up as well.
Yeah, sure.
Karen Kay came on the show as well. She's the fairy lady. She came on and talked about fairies. So lots of different guests.
Okay.
Come on.
Great. Now, can we talk? I'd like to sort of take a sort of mini deep dive into the paranormal stuff that you deal with on that show. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what's talked about there and how's that talked about on the show?
Yes, well, we always talk about energies. So we have different guests come on that sort of specialise in that. And we talk about sort of ghost experiences, different people's experiences that they have with perhaps their house. Perhaps they've had an experience when they went on holiday. And we talk about the energy. So we perhaps talk about entities, we talk about poltergeists, we talk about the different vibrations. And then we sort of, so people have a sort of better understanding of the energies, and not to be so sort of, some people are quite afraid of the paranormal, aren't they?
And I think that's mostly down to media and films, isn't it? Which has sort of made it into the sort of quote unquote scary thing that they might think it is,
So people come on the show and talk about their paranormal experiences, as well as myself. I've had a few experiences there, and so yes, so it's an open book, an open talk, and we talk about perhaps sort of the poltergeist and the vibration of them about moving, and that I believe that poltergeists are made up of different entities, so they come in a force. And so they have a strong high level of movement vibration there. And so when you're sort of clearing, or someone comes and wants to clear a property that's got one, you have to be mindful that the energy doesn't split, because when you often try and clear something like that, the energy would split up because it's made up of the different entities there. So yes, so talking all about that, and ghosts, and whether you should clear ghosts off or not, and that's variable, because some ghosts, they just want to be there, don't they? And they're not harming anything, but others, like poltergeists, they do harm, and they have a strong vibration. So yes, so we really sort of talk about that, and we have stories that guests come on and talk about their experiences. So it's very honest, it's very open, and hopefully it will help people.
Sure. Well, I think the listeners would love to hear, maybe one of your paranormal stories. I'm sure you've got many. Yes. Maybe you could tell them about that, one of those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I've got a lovely one, and I still to this day. So basically, I'm an energy worker, and so I do remove spirit. So I had a bit of it was 2.5 years ago, and I had a free day, but then I got a call, and it was a client of mine, and she goes, it's an emergency. I said, okay, that's fine. I actually got time, I can see you. I said, can you come to me? I'm not far away, but I'm with my friend, and my friend wants a reading, but she's septic, she doesn't really believe in it, but she wants some advice and guidance. I said, okay, that's absolutely fine. And I thought, oh gosh, so I thought, oh, she's got some energy there. So anyway, she knocked on the door, and when I opened it, no, this is the truth, I fell backwards a little bit. There was this big dark cloud, and literally I just sort of fell back. And my treatment room's up at the stairs, and we had the lights on. And as she walked up the stairs, all the lights flickered, everything flickered. And she said, can you read my friend first? I said, oh, absolutely not. I said, we need to sort you out first. And I said, you've come here because it's an emergency. And so she was shaking. So she sat down. And I said, you've got some energy on you that we need to remove. And she was like, I know. She said, well, for the last 2 days, light bulbs have been going. She's been crushing. Everything had been sort of flickering. electricity had blown up, everything. And while she was in the room, the absolute lights were shaking. And of course, I was like, oh my goodness. But I was tuned up, so that was really a sort of positive. And her friend was a non-believer. But as I was removing the entity, but I'm going to call it a poltergeist because it really was, and it was sort of on the back of her neck, and it was whirling. And no joke, it was whirling, and it was whirling around, and I just stayed very, very calm, and I just called all my guides in, and we just sort of covered it up first in a big blanket of protection, and then I cleared it away from her. But before that, just as I cleared it away, of course, poltergeists can be quite... they're just really strong.
Stubborn,
they're powerful. And it came off her so fast, and it went right round the room and over her friend's face as well, before I got it to clear off. I opened the window and my guides took it away. And when I turned round and saw her friend's face, it was the most palest face I've ever seen, and she was so shocked. And she said, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And she, even today, she talks about it at dinner parties. Now, the lady is quite spiritual that had the poltergeist on her, but her energy is very low. She had been quite ill with the flu, and she went somewhere into a pub, and she said that there was some sort of altercation with this man, and then she sort of came away, and she felt that there was attack and that the energy had gone on her. And I did actually say, yes, I felt that was the case, but she was very spiritual as well. And so, yes, and she was, I protected her then and cleared it. But it took about 3 days to clear the energy from the room. So that's sort of a day in my life of my work.
That sounds...
so I do remove energies.
Yeah, that sounds intense. It sounds very intense. I mean, in terms of... can you tell us and the listeners, how does the poltergeist get... How do they get around that person? How do they get into a dwelling? How does their energy arrive there in that place? And why doesn't it just dissipate naturally? What's behind that?
And it all depends what is in the building. So if a poltergeist was in a really light building or a light place, it wouldn't really survive. It would disperse. But if it's in a dark really old and the walls of the house got sort of very negative vibration, like
a basement or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, or there was a graveyard built underneath, the house, whatever, and then the energy is very sort of dull and negative, then it will survive more. Now, what I get on the poltergeist that the lady came in with, it actually was on this man. Now, this man had obviously some issues, and I feel he was feeling very low and slightly depressed. That's what the client had said. But also, they were in a very very old building that was known to have spirits too. So it's a multitude. So I'm going to say it's a multitude of different reasons why then the poltergeist will manifest and come forward. So obviously on that day it was manifesting in I would say in one of the toilets in the pub that they were in, and it was on really old grounds as well, and and they had several sort of activities there in the building. So what happens then when you've got lots of it's old and you've got lots of sort of heavy energies? That's when the entities progress and they vibrate and they move and they come in together, and they would build up, and it could take months for it to manifest and build up, and then it becomes quite a big force, and then of course when your energies are on a different vibration. So everyone has different vibrational energies. So when there's a lot of people with the same sort of vibration, then the poltergeist will be able to move a little bit nearer. And then they see sort of, I want to get out of here. And so then they could attach to the person's auric field if it had some sort of grey around it, because a lot of people, they go around every day and their auric field is nice and clear, but on the outside it's full of grey, so it can attach itself to that grey mass, if that makes sense, and then it can cling on and get stronger and stronger. And this is what's happened on this case. And then of course the man was angry with the lady, so in his anger he was shouting at her, so that energy then went on to her, and she was weak at that particular point, and it went on to the back of her neck. Now sometimes our back of the neck is quite vulnerable for that. Now this hasn't happened a lot of times, I want to tell the listeners. This isn't an everyday occurrence, but it does happen.
Right, okay.
It can happen, and it's proved that it does happen. I mean, over the 30 years I've been working, I probably would have removed about 7 poltergeists from people. So it's not an everyday occurrence. And then, of course, they feed off. So poltergeists feed off. So if you've got a damp place, they will feed off that. If they're attached to you, they will feed off that. So then obviously to remove them and send and get spirit to send them away, that is the right way forward for them. And then the energies would split up and move away, and then that energy would become lighter. It's only because the poltergeists are grouped together that they become a strong force. So on their own, the vibration would be lighter and less heavy.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating to hear all of this, and I really do feel we've kind of just scratched the surface with it. I think we're going to have to sort of delve in and do another show with you potentially in the future, and sort of really take a deep look into the paranormal stuff, because I think everyone would love to hear more about this. I think this is really, really interesting stuff. But we're going to leave that there for the moment, and I'm going to sort of move on to the next question that I'm going to ask you is, what are your thoughts and feelings about the afterlife and what happens after we leave this earth?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I feel that we go over, and I do a lot of mediumship, and I feel very much that we go home. I mean, I was very sort of tuned into the spirit world at a very young age, and every time I tune in, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm at home, and I can help people and help people with their stress, and send healing and readings and whatever it is, and I feel I'm home. So for me, there is a home, and for me, spirit do go over, and I feel that we're on a journey, and I feel that we have a soul, and our soul goes over to either restart the journey again. I do believe in past lives and everything like that, and I feel that when someone passes over, their soul moves over, and they get the comfort that they need, and they have another journey, definitely. And I can feel that so strongly when I'm tuned up to spirit, and I feel that home. And I sometimes when I was younger, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I feel more at home when I'm tuning in, and now it's much better. Now I don't have I don't have that feeling, but however, when I tune up, I do have that feeling. But when I was younger, I just wanted to tune up all the time. I just wanted to have that feeling of being home. So absolutely, I do believe that there's a beautiful afterlife, and I talk to a lot of spirits that have passed over, and it confirms to me that there is a journey, a soul that is on. Absolutely.
Excellent. That's good to hear all that. Well, I think we're going to leave the psychic stuff here now, because we're sort of coming towards the end of the show now. But what we wanted to ask you was, what was the last book you read, or what you're reading at the moment, or any sort of box sets you're watching?
Yes. Well, the last book I read, believe it or not, was a lady that came on the show. She's Carolyn Wilkins, and Death at a Seance. And it was an absolutely amazing book. She is a psychic medium, but it's a beautiful book. And oh my God, it had me impaled. And it is a murder mystery. Right. It's fiction. And I've just finished it the other day. It's absolutely amazing. And so much so, I bought her other book, Melody of Murder. Right. And so I'm on that one. So it's Carolyn Wilkins. But her writing, Murder, is amazing, and it's really held me. But also, she talks about the world of the spirit world back then in the 1920s. So it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And any sort of TV you're watching at the moment? Any sort of box sets? And do you watch anything on any sort of streaming platforms? Or
yes, well, I'm going to say I love the Disney films.
Right, okay. My daughter loves them very much.
Escape into...
yeah, I've sat through many of them.
All the Disney films in the world, I do. I love, and I love Tinkerbell and all the magical stories.
They're great, aren't they? Really, yeah.
So yes, but yes, I'm typical. I do watch Coronation Street. Right. I do EastEnders. I'm very normal in all of those.
You're all over your soaps. Great. Well. Paula is actually going to be, just for the listeners here today, she's going to be giving a free reading away. And now all you have to do is to be in with a chance to win this free reading with Paula is you have to just go to Apple Podcasts, find Psychic Social and leave us a nice review. And then send us an email and let us know that you've left it with your username. So send the email to support@psychic.co.uk. That's support@psychic.co.uk, and we will pick one from random, and the lucky person will win a full psychic reading with Paula. And the closing date for that is going to be Saturday the 14th of March, so you've got 2 weeks from the date of the release of the podcast, which is on the 29th of February. So that'll be fantastic, and we'd just like to say again, Paula, thank you very much for giving this prize away today. It's great that you've done that for us here.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you to all the listeners. But yes, absolutely, very happy to do a reading.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Just before we let you go, can you tell everyone where they can find you in terms of your website and your social media, anything you might be selling, merchandise?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have produced my own future reading cards last year, and that's Paula Mary's future reading cards, and they go back to the old fortune telling days, which I really love. But I offer mediumship readings, psychic surgery, energy clearing, animal communication and healing. Do online workshops for mediumship and psychic card reading. Also, I have a couple of staff that work for me under the Psychic Clinic, and we have Reiki training online or in person. Annie Harmstone is a Reiki master who works alongside me in the Psychic Clinic here. And we do healing retreats in Brittany. I have a house in Brittany, and the next healing retreat is on the 4th of June this year, and there's still spaces available. And it's amazing, and it's very rural, and you get all the healing or development needs that you need, as well as yoga and meditation, because I'm a meditation teacher as well. You can catch me on Facebook, The Psychic Clinic, or the website, thepsychicclinic.com, and email me at thepsychicclinic@aol.com. And if you'd like to have a look on the spiritual surgery show, Pulse Talk Radio, the next show is on the 9th of March, and we've got a lovely medium from America coming on to talk about store and rejuvenation, which will be very brilliant. But I'm on a Monday, pulsetalkradio.com, spiritual surgery, 6:30 until 8, and you can catch me on Twitter or Facebook, Spiritual Surgery.
Sounds great. Great stuff. And just so people know how they can get hold of those tickets for the retreat to Brittany, where do they find them?
They send me a message through the website, thepsychicclinic.com, or email thepsychicclinic@aol.com. And if they mention psychic.co.uk, they'll get a discount.
Oh, sounds great. Wonderful. Good stuff. Well, it's been fantastic, like we say, to speak with you today, Paula. Some really interesting stuff, and we really do. I think, if you'd be happy to, we'd love you to come back, and we'll do a paranormal deep dive, because I think that's something that we would really like to talk more deeply about here on Psychic Social.
Absolutely, I would love to. I love all that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Paula, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat with you soon.
And you. Thank you very much, Oliver. Take care.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on Psychic Social from psychic.co.uk, the spiritual home of psychics.